The organ in St. John's Episcopal had barely finished the last mournful chord when my cousin Blaine let out a whoop loud enough to rattle the stained glass saints. He was waving a thick manila folder like a winning lottery ticket, and his sister Corinne was already snapping selfies with the mahogany casket in the background. Their parents, Uncle Harlan and Aunt Delilah, stood shoulder to shoulder with the estate attorney, eyes glittering like they'd just struck oil. And there I was, Emily Hargrove, clutching a single brass key on a faded red ribbon, the metal warm from my grandmother's hand the day before she slipped away. They laughed until tears ran. Laughed at the school librarian niece who'd driven down from Asheville in a dented Subaru with 180,000 miles on the odometer. 6 months later, those same tears were real, and they were begging. My name is Emily Hargrove, and this is how the worst week of my life cracked open a door I never knew existed. Let me paint the board before the first move. Blaine wore his Ivy League polish like armor-tailored navy suit, Clemson cufflinks, the faint scent of $1,000 cologne. He'd spent the last decade climbing the ladder at Hargrove Timber Holdings, convinced the corner office was his birthright. Corinne, 2 years younger, lived in Charleston's historic district, her days a blur of Pilates and sponsored brunches. She'd turned Southern influencer into a six-figure verb. Uncle Harlan had been grandmother's coup for 30 years, though everyone knew the real decisions came from the woman, now lying in satin. Aunt Delilah chaired every charity gala from Savannah to Hilton Head, her smile practiced in 1,000 society page photographs. Then there was McCardigan-wearing, coffee-stained, the one who alphabetized picture books for a living while my classmates cashed dividend checks. Grandmother Lillian Hargrove was Georgia Pine personified. Born in 1932 during the Depression, she inherited a failing sawmill at 19 when her father dropped dead of a stroke. By the time I came along, she owned half the longleaf forests between the Altamaha and the Savannah rivers, plus mills in 3 states. But money never impressed her. Every birthday she pressed a crisp $5 bill into my palm with the same warning: plant something that outlives you. Sugar. The only time her eyes truly sparkled was when we played Scrabble on her screened porch. Spanish moss swaying like curtains while cicadas kept score. She'd let me win exactly once when I spelled quixotic on a triple word and whispered, "Dreams are free, but spelling them right costs extra." My own parents understood choosing roots over riches. Mama taught 3rd grade in Buncombe County. Daddy restored antique furniture in a shed that smelled of linseed oil and honesty. When lung cancer took Daddy at 52, Mama sold his tools to pay the hospital but kept his favorite carving knife. Some things, she said, are worth more than the debt they leave. Grandmother sent a check enough to cover everything, but Mama tore it in half and mailed it back with a note: "We LL manage with what we VA got." That was the last time money passed between them. The will reading took place in the oak-paneled library of Oakhaven. The antebellum mansion grandmother refused to air condition because history deserves to sweat. Rain drummed the tin roof like impatient fingers. The attorney, Mr. Whitfield, adjusted his bow tie and began, "To my son Harlan and his wife Delilah, I bequeath Oakhaven and the investment portfolio ending in 8,282. Delilah actually clapped. "To my grandson Blaine, Hargrove Timber Holdings, provided he maintains current staffing for 18 months. Blaine's grin could have powered the coastal grid. "To my granddaughter Corinne, the Kiowa Island Beach House, and the yacht Southern Belle currently docked at Isle of Hope Marina." Corinne squealed, already composing captions in her head. Then Mr. Whitfield turned to me. "To my granddaughter Emily, I leave this." He slid across the table a small velvet pouch. Inside, the brass key and a sealed envelope marked "open in Asheville." The room erupted. Blaine snorted so hard his champagne fizzed out his nose. Corinne filmed the whole thing, caption ready. "When your inheritance is literally a key to nothing." Uncle Harlan patted my shoulder with the condescension of a man who just inherited a dynasty. Lillian always did have a soft spot for strays. I left Oakhaven with the key cutting into my palm and the envelope burning a hole in my purse. That night in my childhood bedroom, walls still papered with faded dogwood blossoms, I opened the envelope. Inside was a train ticket, Amtrak Crescent, Savannah to Charlotte, departing 6:05 a.m., seat 14A, and a note in grandmother's spidery script. "Trust the journey, not the destination. Bring the key. I didn't sleep. The key dangled from my nightstand lamp like a guilty secret, catching the moonlight in accusations. Asheville was a 4-hour drive from Savannah via train. And what lock could this open that wasn't already rusted shut in my life? My bank app blinked $2,341.12, rent due in 8 days, and a stack of overdue interlibrary loan requests waiting at the public school where I shelved dreams for kids who'd never afford college. Logic screamed to toss the ticket and head back to my quiet chaos. But grandmother's words from our last Scrabble game echoed, "Some doors only swing wide when you're too foolish to notice the wind." Mama called at dawn, her voice thick with the kind of knowing that comes from burying a husband young. "You going, Em?" I told her about the ticket, the key, the laughter still stinging like salt in a fresh cut. She paused, the way she did when Daddy's ghost visited. "Your grandmother once said something after your daddy died. The timber business isn't about cutting down, it's about what grows back stronger. Maybe this is her way of planting you somewhere new." I hung up and packed a duffel, one good dress, rain boots, Daddy's pocket watch on its leather cord. The Subaru coughed to life, and by 5:15 a.m., I was at the Savannah station, the crescent silver cars humming under sodium lights like a silver-haired serpent, ready to swallow me whole. Boarding was a Mersey seat, one for a by the window, no chatty neighbor. Just the rhythmic clack over rails that felt older than the Confederacy. I traced the key's filigreed edge, worn smooth by generations, and unfolded the envelope's lining. There, in pencil faint as a whisper, 1952. The year grandmother turned 20. The year she'd buried her father and taken the sawmill's reins. Why that number? The train lurched north, past live oaks dripping with resurrection fern, and I dozed fitfully, dreaming of pine stumps sprouting brass keys like bizarre kudzu. Charlotte's platform was a bustle of briefcases and baristas. I had 2 hours before the connecting bus to Asheville enough to grab coffee at a corner cart where a barista named Rosa sketched my order on a napkin with a flourish. "You look like you're chasing ghosts," she said, sliding over the cup. "Or maybe they're chasing you." Her words stuck like burrs as the bus wound into the Blue Ridge foothills, mist cloaking the peaks like forgotten regrets. By noon, I was in Asheville's heart, the French Broad River murmuring secrets to the willows. No plan, no map, just the key, and a gnawing certainty that Grandmother Escame had pieces I couldn't yet see. The bus dropped me near Pax Square, tourists milling like colorful leaves in the October breeze. I wandered into a used bookstore on Patton Avenue, the bell tinkling like a memory. Shelves groaned under tomes of Southern Gothic and faded field guides, the air thick with dust and vanilla from a hidden candle. That S, when I saw it, a brass placard on a locked oak door at the back, half hidden behind a display of dog-eared Faulkner. Hargrove archives by appointment only. The key fit like it was forged for the slot, turning with a click that echoed louder than thunder in a holler. The door creaked open to a narrow staircase spiraling down, lit by bare bulbs strung like Christmas lights in hell. My heart hammered as I descended, the air growing cooler, damper, laced with the earthy tang of aged paper and something sweeter, honey. The stairs bottomed out in a vaulted chamber, stone walls dripping condensation, racks of leather-bound ledgers marching into shadow like silent sentinels. In the center, a scarred walnut table held a brass lamp and a single envelope, my name inked bold. I tore it open. Welcome home. Sugar. Light the lamp. Flicking the switch, bathed the room in honeyed glow, revealing not just ledgers but photographs pinned to corkboards. Grandmother, as a girl, pigtails and overalls, standing beside a mule in a tobacco field. Her at 20, signing papers in a banker's office, eyes fierce as a hawk's. And one that stole my breath. Her with a baby swaddled in calico dated 1953. A son. But Uncle Harlan was her only child, born in 55. Footsteps echoed from the stairs. I spun to face a woman in her 70s, wiry as a switch cane, with salt and pepper braids coiled like cinnamon buns. She carried a tin tray cornbread muffins, steaming, blackberry jam, in a mason jar. "Took you long enough," she said, no preamble, her voice a gravelly drawl that placed her from the sandhills. "Name's Etta May Hargrove. Your great-aunt, if the blood runs true." The world tilted again. Great-grandmother had no siblings. Daddy always said she was an only child, raised by a widowed mother who'd scrubbed floors till her hands bled. Etta May set the tray down, her eyes grandmother's eyes, sharpened, unyielding, appraising me. "Sit, girl. Stories don't keep if you stand gawking." She poured coffee from a thermos, black as midnight, and began, "Born in 28, same holler as Lillian, but dirt poor where grandmother had a scrap of land. Sisters, half-sisters, from the same moonshiner daddy who'd vanished before Etta could walk. Mama grandmother's mama had taken Lillian to town, left Etta with kin who weren't kind. Lillian found out when we were teens. Tracked me down after her daddy died, said the sawmill needed 2 heads to grow legs. We built it together, me in the shadows, her in the light. I handled the books, the bribes, to keep the feds off our backs during Prohibition's hangover. The quiet buys of cutover land nobody wanted. The ledgers told the rest. Hargrove timber wasn't just mills and forests. Beneath the surface, a network of sustainable groves, community land trusts, scholarships for black and poor white kids from the mill's millions funneled not to Harlan's yacht fund, but to roots that fed generations. And the child in the photo, Etta's boy, Jasper, adopted by grandmother as her own when Harlan came along, to keep the line straight for the company's face. But Jasper had died at 22, logging accident in 75, leaving a daughter. No. Etta shook her head. Jasper's line scattered. But you. Lillian saw you in him. Quiet strength, no thirst for the shine. She left the real legacy here, in this vault. The company Harlan thinks he owns. It's a shell, honey. Bleeding red since '08, propped by loans from this trust. Blaine's about to step into quicksand. She slid over a folder thick as a Bible. Asterisk Hargrove Legacy Trust, $52 million in assets, asterisk. Deeds to 15,000 acres of old-growth pine, a solar-powered mill in the Smootzies, a foundation that had educated 4,000 kids since '62. It's yours, Emily. Lillian rewrote the will last spring. Said you were the only one who'd plant instead of clear-cut. My hands trembled as Etta cued a grainy video on a clunky laptop, grandmother's face filling the screen. Cheeks hollowed by chemo but eyes alight. Emily Gurrow, if you're down there with Etta, you trusted the key. Good. Blaine and Corinne got the glitter, the house, the yacht, the name. But glitter don't grow. Harlan's run the company like a casino, betting on pulp when the world wants sustainable. It's insolvent. Sugar. The bank'll call the note in weeks. But you read to those library kids like each word's a seed. You chose Asheville's rain over Savannah's shine because you know stories outlast boards. This trust. It's the real timberland that breathes. People who build. ETL teach you the ropes. And when they come crawling because they will remember what I told you at Scrabble, mercy, ain't weakness, it's the strongest route. She winked. That familiar mischief. Your move, quixotic one. Plant deep. The screen faded. Etta squeezed my hand. She talked about you nonstop last visit. Emily's got the green thumb for souls, she'd say. We'd play dominoes till midnight, plotting how to hand you the reins without the wolves noticing. I spent a week in that vault, poring over maps of forests I'd never seen, learning yield curves from ETA's calloused fingers. She lived in a cabin up the Craggies, walls lined with jars of wild ginseng and pressed oak leaves. Her stories wove a tapestry, grandmother smuggling moonshine roots into timber trails during the war, Etta forging deeds to save sharecropper plots from developers. It was a legacy of quiet rebellion, southern as sweet tea with a shotgun under the table. The call from Blaine came on day 9. As I hiked a trust trail near Hot Springs, ferns brushing my calves like old friends. My phone buzzed in my Pacanone number, Charleston area code. Emily, it's Blaine. God, we need you. His voice cracked, all polish peeled. The auditors. Everything's leveraged to hell. Dad's talking bankruptcy. The yachts repossessed owed it yesterday. Corinne's followers bailed. She's crashing on my couch. I leaned against a hemlock, the key now on a chain around my neck. I'm sorry, Blaine. But he barreled on. Grandmother left you something, didn't she? Real money? We were asses at the funeral, laughing like idiots. Please, family sticks. I flew back to Savannah the next day, Etta's cornbread in my carry-on like talismans. At Oak Haven now, a hollow shell with foreclosure notices taped to the columns laid out the offer over lukewarm sweet tea. Blaine could manage the trust's southern operations, sustainable logging, ecotourism trails. Fair wage, no equity, earn it like grandmother did. Corinne. Social media for the foundation, promoting scholarships, real impact over filters. She bit her lip, nodded. I could, yeah. Make it mean something. Uncle Harlan raged at first, red-faced in the parlor, but Aunt Delilah pulled him aside, whispering about eviction notices. They downsized to a bungalow in Tybee Island. Harlan consults for a cope now. Delilah volunteers at the Literacy Center. Irony, not lost on anyone. Mama moved to a trust cottage in Biltmore Village, her third-grade retirement traded for painting wildflowers on canvas, the kind Daddy loved. And me. I kept the library gig, but summers I roamed the ridges with Etta, teaching kids to identify heartleaf and how forests forgive over harvesting. My students ribbed me about being Miss Timber Baroness, but but I spin it into lessons on the boll weevil eradication or the civilian conservation course history that grows. Last month, up in Etta's cabin, we played dominoes by lantern light. She slapped down a double six and grinned. Lillian always said the best harvest ain't the tallest tree, but the one that shades the whole damn grove. I looked out at the moonlit ridges, the key warm against my skin, and thought of that 1952 photo, the baby, the sisters, the secrets stitched into the soil. She harvested us all, I said. Etta chuckled. Nah, girl, you're the bloom she waited for. That brass key they mocked. It was in tea to adore it, was to a root system deeper than any they'd imagined. Grandmother gave my cousins the canopy, flashy and fleeting, and handed me the understory, resilient, hidden, alive. The last ledger entry she penned sits open on my desk in Asheville, asterisk for Emily. Who knows a story's worth is in the telling and the tending. Asterisk every full moon, I still play Scrabble alone. Sometimes with Etta on video, spelling words like resilient and mercy. She taught me that real inheritance isn't the cut you take, but the grove you leave standing. Turns out the board they were eyeing was just the fallen leaves. The real game was buried in the duff, waiting for roots like mine to break through. If this tale stirred your soul like a Blue Ridge wind, hit that like button and pass it to a kindred spirit who unlocked their own hidden door. Share in the comments what key in your life opened more than you bargained for, and subscribe for more whispers from the wild woods of family, folly, and the fierce grace of Southern secrets.